Morning and thank you for joining this narrated presentation. Following an introduction of one specific school context, this presentation will analyse the lack of collaborative professional learning within that school and how this specifically relates to leadership styles. Once fundamental gaps have been recognised, strategies will be put forward to best address these. Ultimately, this will present a strategy to reasonably improve collaborative professional learning. The school context which we will analyse is a private all-boys grammar school located in Queensland. There are 1,500 students from grades 7 through 12 and 140 full-time teaching staff. The principal is in his 6th year after being a staff member at the school for almost 20 years prior. Interestingly, his experience is actually perceived as a weakness by staff, given his conservative and traditional leadership reflects a desire to do things the way they've always been done. There is little distribution of leadership occurring. The traditional hierarchical model of leadership exists very much in this context. This unfortunately disempowers classroom teachers whilst reducing collaboration almost entirely. The Harvard Business Review agrees that leaders shape culture through conscious and unconscious actions. Staff perceive a notion of administrative leadership which has set the tone for a lack of collaboration in professional learning around the campus. The challenge within this context is the lack of a culture of collaboration, particularly in relation to professional learning. Instead of centering on building efficacy to enhance student achievement, teachers remain disengaged and disempowered by professional learning, given the hierarchical context through which it is delivered. End-of-term professional development sessions are lecture-style presentations, which have been delivered by the same 2 staff members for almost 2 years now. Based on discussion with colleagues, it is clear that there are 3 main deficiencies perceived with the professional learning program, which directly relate to Dufour's 3 big goals of professional learning communities. Dufour's principles and the way in which they relate to my school context are: 1. Ensuring students learn. This relates to a distinct lack of relevance of existing professional learning to classroom teachers, given a lack of leadership on what quality instruction looks like. 2. A culture of collaboration, whereby hierarchical structures and administrative leadership reduce collaboration and thus reduce engagement and buy-in from staff. And 3, a focus on results, reflective of the lack of follow-up or reflection on the results of professional learning within classrooms, reflecting on whether there has actually been a change in teacher action and if this, in turn, has resulted in student improvement. This will now be analysed in greater depth. In relation to Goal 1, ensuring students learn, what is lacking in this context is a school-wide pedagogical framework to determine what effective teaching and learning looks like in practice. Denham draws upon Hattie's studies to determine the quality of the teacher and the quality of teaching in classrooms had the largest influence on student achievement. Thus, without a central purpose or framework for teaching and learning, professional learning is left without a central focus. Durham University refers to this as quality of instruction. This was highlighted during a recent professional development day where a senior academic leader stated that good professional practice looks different in every classroom, so there would be no attempt to adopt a school-wide pedagogical framework. In relation to Dufour's first big goal, we cannot ensure students are learning because teaching practices and therefore student learning is still too tied to individual teachers. Dufour's second big goal, a culture of collaboration, is also lacking. Ghulam Hussain identifies a great irony in education. We understand that students learn best in collaborative and discussion-based contexts, while professional learning remains trapped in lecture-style sessions. This opposes Knowles' principles of andragogy, removing the independence, autonomy, and self-direction adults require in learning, and stripping professional learning of personal experiences, which allows for context. Cunningham clearly identifies that teachers prefer working in collaborative contexts, and that student results improve when they do. Sweeping statements indicating that best practice looks different in every classroom for every teacher undermines subsequent content covered in these workshops, thus resulting in unsuccessful professional learning as staff are actively disengaged due to deficiencies in andragogy. The third big goal of professional learning is a focus on results. Whilst my context is one which regularly monitors student results, what is lacking is a focus on the results of professional learning. Has anyone actually put into practice the learnings from these lectures? And if so, what has been their success? This is also linked to collaboration. We cannot focus on results because in my context, a lack of collaboration means a lack of a critical friend, meaning we lose our mirror as teachers through which our practices are understood, refined, and improved. No one holds us accountable for improvement. Critical friends are demonstrative of a mentor or trusted peer who should not assume a direct role, as stated by the Queensland Department of Education's Critical Friend Toolkit. In a hierarchical context where feedback is only delivered from your direct supervisor, conflict and fear arise, and effective collaboration and distributed leadership are simply not possible. A way in which feedback and professional learning is delivered is vital to ensure that AITSL Standard 6, the teachers engage in professional learning, is fully met by ensuring staff engage with colleagues to improve practice. Feedback, particularly through mentorship and buddying, allows for distributed ownership and leadership to actively improve teacher practice and therefore clearly ascertain results. Now, strategies for improvement will be proposed and also critically evaluated to highlight barriers to their success in a challenging context. Reflecting back on the 3 identified deficiencies and how they relate to Dufour's 3 big goals of collaborative professional development, recurring themes for improvement exist. Ultimately, the element most lacking is collaboration. There is no room for collaboration in static workshops and no effort made to transition learning from the workshop to the classroom. So how can a culture of collaboration be facilitated? Gron considered distributed leadership as a holistic effort to work, plan, learn, and act, thus generating further leadership capacity within the individual and the organisation. My context remains traditional and hierarchical, which Spillane identifies as a potential threat to collaborative, distributed leadership. In 2008, Harris extended upon this to argue that it remains possible to empower those within a hierarchical structure to recognise expertise and collaborate across all levels. A way forward. A key ingredient in achieving this is a process of staff empowerment and involvement, supported by the ongoing staff mentoring and development. This is distributed leadership. McLean identifies that empowerment requires an understanding of situational leadership and a dedicated shift away from directing, where the leader gives an instruction and the staff follow, which is our current starting point, towards the end goal of a supportive leadership model whereby there is a high relationship, collaboration, and ultimately the teacher has support to make better improvement practices in the classroom. Whilst McLean suggests that the final goal should be delegative leadership, where staff are fully empowered to make individual decisions, in a school context where we should be encouraging collaboration, this should be initially avoided. The role of supportive or distributed leadership is to ensure individual teacher practice is at least reflected upon with a peer, to share expertise and improve learning for all. The framework in which to achieve this will now be suggested. To facilitate collaboration, an amendment to the Critical Friend Toolkit should be considered. There will be 2 main roles: mentors, who exist in the coaching style, and buddies, who exist in a supportive capacity. New staff members to the school or to the profession will receive a mentor. There is a more supportive, senior, established teacher assisting them as mentor. This works to educate new members to the school or to the profession, whilst acknowledging expertise and experience of established and senior staff members as a vital component for andragogy. In adopting a mentoring capacity, established staff members are also encouraged to continue engaging and improving their own classroom practice through reflection. Other staff members are allocated buddies to work as critical friends. Buddies can change yearly to reduce the risk of productive pairings from poisoning the success of the program. Both buddies and mentors facilitate greater dialogue and collaboration whilst creating ownership and distributing leadership of improved practice. In summary, Silnes and Mulford highlighted that distributed leadership involving the clear empowerment of colleagues will result in increased collaboration and collective ownership of leadership decisions. This positively impacts teaching and learning. In reflecting, while the current leadership style is administrative and conservative, clear research by Robinson highlights that successful leaders in schools practice collective responsibility and collaborative styles. The results are a collegial work environment with greater trust between colleagues, increased accountability, and uniform strategies to improve student outcomes.